What's going on YouTube? A Fly Guy Gaming here, and today we're going to be challenging the Legendary Goku event GT Edition with the Space Traveling Warriors team. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. For today's video, I kind of want to keep the topics a bit centralized. I know I have a habit of rambling, so I want to talk about the units on the team, and I want to talk about like this team in general and what Akatsuki did right with this and how they need to emulate this in other teams. So let's jump in by talking about these units. This rotation, unfortunately, I'm gonna need to float this topo off. I need him beside that Jiren ASAP. But a really big piece of this team is this Frieza right here. This Prime Battle Easy Aid Frieza is gonna be huge, man. Like, I still can't believe he's a free-to-play unit. Like, what Akatsuki did with this guy is amazing. Like, he gets I believe 50% defense in the first and third slot. He gets 50% extra attack when he ultra supers, and then he gets 77% attack and defense just for easy A. And look at that damage number, 4.2 million on a crit. Like, this is a free-to-play unit. This dude is out here throwing out haymakers, and every player can get them as long as they play the game long enough. Moving on to this Bojack in the middle, I think like this guy, in respects of, actually, I'm going to float off this Frieza. But I think that Bojack, in respects of new Dokkan Fest exclusives, should be the model that people follow. Like, yeah, he's almost a carbon copy of the cooler that was released before him. And by carbon copy, I think he's just the more defensive iteration of it. So I think in harder events, he has a bit more playability because he won't get bopped immediately. But the support, the Dokkan Fest release with a support ability and an active skill transformation. That's the most important part. Should be the new wave of like Dokkan Fest coming out. I think characters like that Int Future Gohan and that AGL Android, excuse me if I mess this up, I believe it's 13. Yeah, it's Android 13. I think they're close to the mark, but the fact that they don't have active skill transformations really holds them back. Because imagine that that Int Future Gohan in particular, he's a great unit. He gets huge amounts of damage reduction when you're at lower HP, and he supports the category he leads. So that's a formula for success. But the fact that he forcibly transforms when you're playing him on his ideal team, that Master and Disciples Bond team, Bond of Master and Disciples team, it kind of makes you want to play him outside of his wheelhouse. Like, if you play him on a hybrid Saiyan team without a Trunks, yeah, you can keep him as a support, but you lose that flexibility option. Let me go ahead and put Jiren in slot 1. He'll go ahead and build up his passive key. And let me go ahead and grab this for, excuse me, just had a really good lunch with a couple friends, but go ahead and put that Jiren in slot 1 so he can start building up his passive. And then just the support on this team. But going back to that Int Gohan, like, imagine if he had an active skill transformation. Not only is he usable with Trunks, and you have more flexibility with how you're gonna play him, but in turn it future proofs like that pull. So like, you getting this unit means that it's just that much harder to power creep him, and I believe that's the direction Akatsuki needs to go with the Dokkan Fest released in the future. There are some exceptions like Fidel and the upcoming, I believe it's Trunks and Goten, the physical one. They're like offensive powerhouses that you build a team around. It's okay to release units like that, but I don't think it's okay to release units like that if they're leading a new team, because these teams are going to require, I'm going to go ahead and put Cooler in the middle and transform him. What I want to do is start stacking up his attack, so later on when he's getting those crits, we can breeze through a lot of these phases. But going back to the topic at hand, I think there should only be 2 models of Dokkan Fest released in the future, and by that I mean if they're going to lead a new category. Either you build that new category around them, or they support that new category by in the way of giving out a support buff, and if they're transforming, their transformation has to be an active skill transformation, especially if they lose that supporting capability. Because anything that falls short makes it so that team doesn't function well enough, especially if it's smaller. So moving into the topic of like smaller categories, Space Traveling Warriors, in my opinion, is one of the ideals. The other is something like Wicked Bloodline. It comes out with top-heavy LRs to like carry the weight of like power, as well as filled out with a bunch of free-to-play EZAs and popular strong units that work cohesively together. Like Jiren and Topo are the only super units I have on this team, and it works fine because you want them on rotation together. So they can just sit back and essentially be one rotation you don't have to worry about. Like they're gonna function fine. The rest of the team, even though they're spread, even though the characters themselves, like the cards that these characters represent, are spread out across different series, they're extreme. So they have like that extreme package bundle, stuff like Fear and Faith, stuff like Shocking Speed. Most of them have Fierce Battle. So they have a package of links you can build around. And then because Bojack is the supporting type leader, let's see, 2.25, I should be fine. I'll have a Dokkan Fest coming up fairly soon. But because Bojack is a support leader, any shortfalls in key or excuse me, attack and defense that you'll be missing from links, you can get back from him floating on this, from a support, from him floating in and out of rotations, functioning as a support. And I think that was just like an amazing thing for them to get done. So with that being the ideal setup for like a new category being good, even though it's small, I kind of want to contrast that to something like Special Pose, or I hate to say it, like even though they're not new, Low Class Warriors, because even though they're smaller categories, and especially in the case of Low Class Warriors, like they've had a lot of time to develop, Akatsuki hasn't given those categories the tools to be high tier. I won't even say it high tier, because these new categories are rarely high tier, but they're not like top tier in the sense that they're going to struggle very, very heavily against a lot of these harder events. I'm going to go ahead and pop an Icarus here, because this Topo and this Frieza can do well in the first and third rotations. I just need to make sure that they don't get killed by a stray super attack. So let's go ahead and grab these for Jiren. He can go ahead and get a 24 key, and it should be super effective against all types. Like, yeah, let me check. This guy still has his defense lower, which is super helpful. And I got a Dokkan attack coming on the following turn, assuming I can get some same type orbs, and that should take care of my health problem. So between that Frieza, the Cooler, and I believe it'll be a Bojack floating, we should be fine. Let's see. This guy has 70% damage reduction. Takes 26k. Perfect. This Jiren's super effective against all types. He'll get me through this phase. I might have to float him off the next time he comes on rotation, because the following phase will be in. So going back to the topic, like the contrasting small categories is something like Space Traveling Warriors. I brought up Low Class Warriors, which has been around for a while. It's still very small because it's only a particular type of Saiyan, and unfortunately we don't see them too often. So when they do get these buffs, or when they do get these units released, they tend to be really good for the current meta, but they're not able to carry the team to the point where they're future-proofed, as I'd like to say. Okay, let me focus for a second, because I've been known to miss some of these orbs on Dokkan attacks. Perfect. And I think the way to help them out is to release that type of Dokkan Fest that is a support with a active skill transformation. Bardock hits one of those categories in the fact that he has the active skill transformation, but he's still kind of selfish because he's not so much as a support, but the support for his team, but his team supports him. The more low class warriors he has, the stronger he gets, and that kind of works doubly for Bardock because he's the revenge leader as well. So in that case, he doesn't help them at all. And running him on the revenge team, yeah, you have some really powerful triple supers. Cooler is still top tier in my mind. He may not be like top 5 best TURs, but the fact that a unit can throw out 3 guaranteed crit supers and not be top 5 tells you how the shows you the caliber of these Dokkan Fest TURs. Let's see. Jiren needs to sit in slot 1. That's rough. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pop my second Icarus here because I wanna keep the healing items just in case we get hit pretty hard coming up, which is very likely because as hard as that golden grade 8 hits, like this guy right here, he'll tear you a new asshole. And then his tech variant, see, look, that was with 30% additional damage reduction. Like Topo had 70% damage reduction. He got freaking obliterated. But back to like the topic of Bardock, and I don't think he's a bad unit per se, but I don't think he's the type of unit you want leading these newer categories. He should be the second or third. Like that type of unit should be the second or third character to lead a category, or to have the category leader skill. Because by that time, if they have 2 to 3 leaders, there's more than enough characters to like offset them not having good supports or good consistency boosters. And by that I mean units that change orbs. Because in my mind, there's 2 types of supports. There's key and stat supports, so those are tied together. And then you have orb changing supports that may not give stats out, but making it so that you can get to your super attacks is huge. So we'll go ahead and do this. We'll grab this. I think Cooler has more attack. Yeah, Cooler definitely has more defense. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab these. And I'll grab these 4. This is gonna be a stretch here because if he supers at Frieza, I'm gonna need to get a 12 key to raise my defense so that I can offset him like blowing me up. Alright, Cooler. And if Cooler gets super, we might just die. Alright, so 1 super, 5 million. Let's see how much damage we did. 3 mil? 2 supers, 5.3 million. It's like a 10 million raw attack stat if you think about it, because crits are like 1.9 multiplier. Whew. And then 3. All right, Cooler's showing his ass right now. Throwing out 15 million attack stat that are all crits, so it's kind of like 30. All right, and as such, I get hit by freaking super. All right, we lived. Perfect. So I'll go ahead and pop my Android 8. Cooler is actually the MVP in my mind because I've tried this stage a couple times, and the biggest thing holding me back on this stage was the fact that I stall out against these guys and get hit with 2 to 3 supers, and I just didn't have the items to make it through. Whew. I'm gonna go ahead and keep Jiren on rotation, add 70% defense, 300k defense, and he still may not be the safe enough pick here. Then go ahead and grab these. So we'll start the next rotation with Cooler. Hopefully we can make it through this rotation. I'll need Jiren to crit. We can make it through this phase if Jiren crits, which is rough because the way the unit is balanced, I went full additional with him because typically he'll have super effective against all types. But in this particular case, like, he's very weak against this second to last phase, because not only is he not going to get it super effective against all types, but he's built in a way that you want to prioritize additionals. Yeah, so since Jiren didn't crit, I'm going to have to do one more turn with this guy. Let's see how much he does here. This probably will hurt a bit. 270. Go ahead and grab these for Frieza. Yes, Cooler definitely has the higher defense count, so that'll give me some regen. I'm over 300k. I don't think he can kill. He definitely can't kill this Frieza, and I don't think he can kill Cooler with a super. So I should make it through this phase, knock on wood, assuming he doesn't dodge everything, which he hasn't been, fortunately. Shouldn't have said that. All right, cool. So I'm approaching 6 million attack stat, which is perfect because getting multiple crits will put this Goku down. Let's see, where am I at now? Full HP. Whew. Scary stuff. Scary stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and put Topo in first. Yeah, it's falling off. Let's do this. Do I want to do that? I want him to get same type orbs. That's rough. I really wish you could just like click the orb and then it routes that way, not just trying to get the most key. So I'll do this. And Frieza needs a lot of key. Perfect. So he'll get his 18 key. It might have been smarter for me to do a 12 key super here. Let's see, can Tobo survive this? We're at about 320,000 HP. 260, yeah, we should be fine. So that means Jiren should survive, and I'll definitely pop my last Android 8 next turn. Yep. That way, we're at the point now. Jiren should survive. We'll see. He's just shy of 200k. It really doesn't matter. Let's see. Yep, double digits, perfect. Sorry for the commentary. If you wanted to finish the train of thought about the teams, about the smaller teams, I'm kind of drawn in right now. Like, this event has been very challenging. I know I've said it in previous videos, but towards the end it gets a little stressful, especially since we don't have the same name update, so it kind of limits our team builds. Like, I would like to have more freezes or access to more coolers, but it's just, it wasn't in the cards. Okay, let's go ahead and grab this right here. Grab this and grab these two. I guess I should move on to the special pose category, because in my mind that's probably the worst category that's been released in the last 2 years. And it's not to knock the characters on it. I like a lot of what they're trying to do, but I don't think it really works together thematically. Like, special pose, the way I think about it, should be a category that's focused around either buffing itself or debuffing the enemies, and then you kind of build off of that identity. But we're not really seeing it. Missing that crit right there is actually super important, because I would have knocked him down another 2 bars, and it would have made it so the next time Cooler comes on rotation, he could have gotten the kill. But there's a chance I could triple super and just make up for it. Alright, let's see. Whew. What are our defenses looking like? Yeah, okay, so we still have, yep, we definitely still have that. I'm gonna go ahead and pop Jiren's active skill here. I'm wondering, Bojack's a booster, so if I transform with him, his stats do go up. He'll have a better time defending, but is it worth losing his support buff? Because right now he's supporting for 30% attack and defense. I'd lose that 30%, and I'd end up getting, if I were to get 6 orbs, he would get 30% for himself and 60% on top of 60% extra defense. I think with how much health we have, we'll be fine regardless. So I'm not going to go ahead and transform this turn. I may regret it because I could miss out on the damage, but I think right now the smartest thing to do is keep Jiren and Topo as strong as possible, especially Topo, because he's going to be taking the brunt of these attacks. He's just shy of 200k, and he has damage. How does that work? I think he has damage reduction on the turn. No, he doesn't, because we came into the turn higher than 70% HP. So that was him tanking without damage reduction, which is pretty big. Cool. Let's see how much Jiren takes here. I think it's going to be about 300k. So I'm glad I didn't transform here, because he still... Okay, so about 200k, because he still had access to that support. Man, that one middle slot, that's the turn to look out for. Okay. So we can probably finish it here, assuming he doesn't dodge Cooler too much. Cooler definitely has more defense than Frieza, so I want to get him that orb. 290. Let's see. It's gonna be a long shot here, because this is gonna be one of the highest damaging rotations this team has, but I still need to connect, and I'm gonna need a lot of additionals. Let's see. 6.3. So my advice, if you have Cooler and you're trying to beat this challenge, transform him early, and then rely on your Bojacks and your Topo to do the supporting. Okay, cool. Give me the triple super, because as you see, like, him stacking attack and then multiplying that into crits, like bypassing that defense, makes these fights a lot easier. Boom. And Cooler got it done. So that's it for the Space Traveling Warriors team. This one wasn't as hard, in my opinion, as the Power Absorption team, because it had the tools to get through every fight. It's just getting a bit lucky with some of the damage. But I'm looking forward to the last two I have, Connected Hope and Corroded Mind and Body, because both of those teams are kind of in between the are kind of like the in-between categories, like with the really good small categories like Wicked Bloodline or Space Traveling Warriors, and the really bad ones like Low Class Warriors and what was the other one I mentioned? Special Pose. Like they have some tools, but they're not complete. And plus, with like the level of difficulty of this event, this one is going to, those next two are going to be a challenge. But thanks for watching. This was a Fly Guy Gaming, and with that, that's Fly Guy out.